Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, GenCon, and the gaming capital of the world, we are the Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 157 of The Established Facts.
Are you just going to try and make that sound more game showy every time we do this?
Every time. Hello! Hello, and welcome to The Established Facts, episode 157. All right.
Go sell a used
Please
car.
stop puking on the microphone.
Blah, 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 blah.
Do that and pop your peas. And
Right, exactly. So, anyway, hello, everyone. This is our GenCon wrap-up from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Life happened.
Life.
And so we are doing our post-GenCon episode. So we hope that everyone had a great time at GenCon. I had a great time at GenCon.
Yes, agreed.
yes.
I had a fantastic time at GenCon.
Good. All right. So I would like to throw out a couple special thank yous before we get into our episode. But definitely want to thank the entire Hickman family. Tracy for joining us on the show, and Laura for allowing her husband to join us on the show.
Yes. Very smart.
If you have not gotten a chance to listen to that episode, that's episode 156, please do so. Sitting down and hanging out with Tracy before the convention is probably one of the...
It was infotaining.
It was infotaining. Mm-hmm. It was.
Nice.
And probably one of the neatest experiences that we have in our year of podcasting is sitting down with him, because he really, we even talk about it a little bit on the show. But he and his entire family have really become an extension of our family. And they, we really look forward to seeing them and hearing about all of the amazing things that Tracy's going to be doing with his son, with The Void. Make sure that you check that out as well. Obviously, we're going to probably have several different plugs from GenCon on the episode. So, hopefully Josh will be able to get those in show notes. If not, just listen over the episode and write it all down on your own.
Yeah, there'll be lots. Just listen.
The show notes will be written in invisible ink.
Just live. That's right. That's right. So let's go around the table and just very quickly, and we'll go ahead and start with Deb. But we'll go ahead and give us your overall reaction to GenCon 50, and then we'll kind of get into it a little bit more.
Is that before or
in detail.
after introductions?
Oh, yeah, I guess we could do introductions. I forgot that.
Well, you already introduced me.
I forgot
so
that
I'm
people
good.
were even at the table. Okay, so Deb, go ahead and tell people who you are.
Your head, really.
They talk to me. They understand.
That's right.
Sorry. This is Dr. Deb.
This is Josh.
Lance.
I'm Avital.
And Prime.
And, of course, your absent-minded host, Big Don.
That took all of, 4 seconds?
4 seconds.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Someone's got to keep you in line.
Well,
Wife's not here, so...
Exactly.
Brother's
It's
the
strange.
second best.
I'm unbridled.
That's weird.
Unbrided?
No, not unbrided. She's just at home with kids. Unbridled as in no tether to
Like a horse?
any sort of mental logic or reason.
You have the chain, but the ball's at home.
It's just a much longer chain. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with Deb. Let's get overall GenCon 50 reactions.
I had a really good Gen Con. And I've been to a few now, so it was really good. I had a variety of different experiences, but I got to do the stuff that I really wanted to do. We made some changes, and they were for the best, considering our schedule and everything going on. And overall, I had a really good time. We'll get more specific later, so I won't get into too many specifics. But it started out on a fantastic note with Tracy, and and it ended well. We ended our time in the exhibit hall, and somebody gave us a free ottoman. So it was really awesome.
That's a true story.
As in a thing that you put your feet on when you're sitting on a chair,
Yes,
or a person from the Empire?
No. That would have been even more amazing. No, the thing where you put your foot on it and you sit on it or something, a piece of furniture. Yeah. So and we'll get more specifics later. But yeah, it was really good. It was it was what I wanted it to be. It was a time to recharge. It was a time to enjoy myself. It was a time to play the games I wanted to play, and so I had a great time.
This was probably the smartest Gen Con I'd been to. Gen Con made a lot of really intelligent decisions.
Okay, I was like, per overall population?
Well-
what are you referring to?
People.
Gen Con
There
made
were
a lot.
people doing
right.
math in the hallways. It was incredible.
Yes.
Spelling bee, the Asian kid won.
The entire senior class of Purdue showed up.
That was this weekend.
But I say that it was the smartest, both from the decisions that Gen Con made and the decisions that my wife and I were making about enjoying the con and pacing ourselves. And as a matter of fact, this is the first year for us that we've consciously made the decision to return True Dungeon tickets, just so we made sure to get some more exhibit hall time. Mm-hmm. So though we did not experience the True Dungeon this year, it was worth it. So
Yeah, we're not sorry. It was the smartest decision for us.
So what you're saying is the Established Facts crew of True Dungeon runners didn't go at all?
none
this
of us
year?
went.
None of us went.
Wow. Take that, True Dungeon. No, I'm just kidding.
Unless
The adventurers needed time for some R&R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and from a Gen Con perspective, they actually capped the ticket sales at around 60,000 people on purpose, which I thought was brilliant because you could tell that we were below capacity the whole time. It was good movement everywhere, so it was the smartest Gen Con we've been to.
Lance?
All right.
Honestly, for me, it was the smallest Gen Con ever. But that's because I didn't travel outside of the games I was playing for most of it. I was scheduled from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight, 2 of the busiest days.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8 o'clock in the morning until noon, 1 o'clock on Sunday. And Thursday, I was with my kid most of the day and then by myself in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the busiest con I've ever done. But it was also the smallest for me because I was inside rooms,
Right.
not walking around as much as
It's
possible.
more of an intimate.
So I didn't
Gen
get to
Con.
go and see what was going on in the stadium. I didn't get to go through the history of. I didn't walk the convention. The
The
thank you, the sales hall. I guess
Exhibit
Exhibit hall.
vendor hall, they both work.
That thing where they take your money for other things.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you volunteer your money most of the time. In that area, I walked through it every aisle up and down. I got to see some old friends that make web comics or my author friends. Ran into Steve Jackson. He sold me a game. Other than that, it was constantly busy. So I was just, it was the smallest one for me, and I liked it that way. If I do it again next year, I will probably keep every minute planned.
Okay.
My Gen Con this year was a little bit different because, like, I had more LARPs that I went to, like more actual events, because, like, a lot of my Gen Cons have been wandering around and randomly running into people, and that is fine. But, like, I was actually, like, playing more LARPs, and I will get into details on some of those later in the episode, but no, like, I had a good time, and I didn't take, like, hardly any pictures because my phone camera was being weird, which is annoying, but it was a good year. It's always been a good year at Gen Con. So
Prime?
I think for me, Gen Con every year is always great. Like there's nothing like every Gen Con for me is different. So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have anything specific to point out. Like, because I don't go into Gen Con with any expectations.
You're never disappointed.
Exactly. So, I mean, I had a good time. I spent less time in the exhibit hall than I did in previous years, but I still had just as much fun doing what I'm doing what I was doing, playing games and talking to people and being an extrovert. So, that was good. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I have to say, my overall reaction to Gen Con 50, though I understand the decision that they made to limit the number of passes so that they could control the amount of traffic that was going in and out of the convention. And regardless what individual people's opinions are, I feel like it worked for them very well, very successfully this year. My overall Gen Con, I had a really great time, and to some people on the podcast and in general gaming friends may know that my wife did not want to go to Gen Con this year at all. And I convinced her to go with me because it was Gen Con L. And so
Let it live forever.
What I did was I made sure, because I know my wife well enough to know that she does not like to have a hardcore schedule of events or anything. She really enjoys taking her time through the exhibit hall, playing and demoing games in the exhibit hall, and doing things like that. And so I made sure that that was what I was doing on Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday was a little bit different. We did some events and walked around and checked out some stuff. But essentially, I just kind of allowed her to have the freedom that she enjoys. And thus, I really enjoyed myself as well, because over the last 2 or 3 years, not that they've been bad. I mean, Gen Con 49 for me was probably one of the best Gen Cons I've ever had. But I kind of returned to my roots when it came to Gen Con. It used to be that I would schedule like 2 or 3 events, and then I would just go around and try and find pickup games and demo and stuff like that. And I haven't done that in a long time because, as we just said, 3 of us for sure, sometimes 4 or 5 or 6 of us, are doing True Dungeon runs, and we're doing Pathfinder exclusives and things like that. And though we still did some of those things, a lot of my schedule was left open. And also, for me, I have 2 sons that are now in school. And it was a priority for my wife and I to be home so that we could get the kids off the bus. And they get off the bus at 4:30. So we had much shorter days at Gen Con, which in my opinion was really good for us because it allowed my introverted wife to be able to pace herself and have a good time in doing the things that we got to do. And then she got to go home and recharge. And then on Friday, even though we were picking up our kids from the bus, I had a game scheduled that night, so I got to come back. She got to hang out at home with the boys, and I got to have more con time, and she got to have more introvert time. And so it really, for the way that we worked it out, it was a really good con for us. And I don't know what next year is going to hold. I expect that at least one of us will be at Gen Con. I don't know if it will be the entire 4 days, but we'll see. But overall, like I said, my overall opinion for Gen Con 50 was a positive one. Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, my family, since my daughter is of age as your sons are, she likes to play a certain game at Gen Con, and we made the decision that we were going to take her out of school for 1 day.
Yeah.
So that she could play her game, because it's a 5-hour game. And
oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Academy,
Pathfinder,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
Pathfinder Academy.
Which we may or may not do again, because it's just another society game. It's a 5-hour society game, period. But yeah, we took her out of school that day. We made sure we had childcare for our youngest, but we brought her 1 day, and then she went to school the next day, but we also had childcare provided for that time as well. So I'm with you. And do you want to bring your kids that are school-aged to Gen Con? It's hard to bring super little ones, because there's nothing for them, and they're more annoyed by being there most of the time because it's out of their routine. the school-age kids want to go, but then school's a priority.
Right.
So how do you balance that? We just decided we were going to do it one day, and then that's it.
And that's exactly what we did, too. We brought the boys Sunday. We brought all 3 of our boys on Sunday. I had a Starfinder event that morning with Josh and Deb, and yeah, it was just Josh and Deb. That's right. Yeah. And then the boys came with us, and so Bonnie walked around in the exhibit hall for a little bit, and they bought some board games, and then they walked around to some different places and checked some fun stuff out. And the boys had a great time, which I thought was cool. And the pace for Sunday was really good for them because they weren't overwhelmed by anything. Sunday's still a fairly busy day, but because it's a shorter day and it's not a Saturday, you're not going to have to deal with the amount of like cosplay traffic and things like that. I would say a vast majority of people don't really cosplay on Sunday because a lot of that time that they put into their costume is now over because the costume contest is usually on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so they had a great time walking around. My wife told my 2 oldest sons, who love going around and finding people in costume and taking pictures with them, which I think is great, that she was not going to walk around and take a picture of every person that was in a costume, so they had to be selective with who they wanted a costume or wanted a picture with. My oldest son, Joe, saw a couple that was dressed as Batman and Wonder Woman in armor, like scale mail armor, which I thought was incredible. And he wanted a picture with them. And, of course, my son Daniel, my 5-year-old, who, in my opinion, is probably the supervillain of our family, decided he wanted a picture of... He wanted a picture of Dr. Doom. And he is it's the greatest picture. I probably will post it on my personal Facebook. He is standing there, and he's got his hands kind of up and like clenched, like he's getting ready to, I don't know, do something.
It's the take over the world.
Yeah. It's the take over the world. And then Dr. Doom is literally standing above him because the guy, I think it looks like he's about 6 foot plus tall, and he's in his Dr. Doom costume, and he's kind of doing the same pose. And I was like, oh my gosh, my son is a supervillain. This is amazing. Like, it was so good. So they had a great time. Yeah, I'm proud of you. That's right.
I found that doing the family cosplays, you get a lot more picture requests taken. My daughter and I dressed as members of a cartoon together, and it was Ladybug and Cat Noir. And Avital helped us and joined in and was also one of those characters. You played Adrian.
Adrian, yeah. One of the secret identities of the superheroes.
Yeah, one of them. We won't say which one, but I was Cat Noir. And my daughter was dressed as the Ladybug. When she disappeared from me for a little bit to go with her mom somewhere, I was standing in the hallway. Tons of people walked by. A few people recognized me.
Right.
As soon as my daughter joined me, tons of picture requests. Can we take your picture? Oh, it's so cute that you would do that with your kid.
Right. So, you're like, it was my idea.
My kid.
That's great.
Yeah,
no,
it was my kid's idea, totally.
So, obviously, GenCon is the best 4 days in gaming. There are a lot of games that are premiered at GenCon, such as Starfinder and other awesome board games like that.
D&D 5.0 was also...
That's true, right.
A couple years ago.
Exactly. And so, the showcase for GenCon are new games. So, I would like us to discuss and go around the table and talk about some of our favorite games that we played this GenCon weekend. And definitely... you can combine your favorite game that you played as well as your favorite new game, so they don't have to be the same. So if you played a great Pathfinder Society game, but then you also played a great Starfinder game, definitely showcase those things. And I'm going to go ahead and start in reverse order, and we'll start with Prime. So favorite game, favorite new game of the Gen Con weekend?
I would have to say I really only played... I played one genre of game, but I played it for 2 different companies. So the first one I played that I can actually say was new was I played in a couple of D&D game 5th edition games that I've played 5th edition once before, but it was in a Living Arcanist campaign which I think is an independently developed campaign that is set up for D&D 5th edition, but it's been around since D&D 3.0.
Yeah,
so it's been around since Living Greyhawk.
I still own the original Living Arcanus book.
So
yeah,
to be involved in that type of a world that's got that much history and that much background, it was definitely a cool thing to do for a con game. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite slash new games that I played. I only played 4 games this year. So.
Okay.
But they were all 4-hour games, so it's like
right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, Avital, what you got?
All right. I literally was only doing LARPs, but I do have a couple things to mention. My favorite gaming experience at GenCon this year was I LARP in One World by Night, that organization.
Yay.
I normally just play the Guru, which is the werewolf. But there is also a local Sabbat game, which is one of the vampire genres.
Welcome to the dark side.
And they were doing a game. They were hosting a game at GenCon on Friday night. But the premise of it was kind of it was like a supernatural auction type thing. So there were some shifters there, not any like Guru werewolves, but there were like some cats, and there was
Bastet.
Yes, Bastet. Not everyone knows that. But
we may not know it, but listeners might.
Yeah,
I'm just giving the crawl underneath.
Yes.
The vocalized crawl.
the whisper. Yes.
Subtitles. That's it. I'm giving subtitles for what
But
you're
yeah,
saying.
there were
Vocal
vampires.
subtitles.
There were
Sounds like
some
someone speaking
shifters.
partial
There were some mages. But I know
Were there any hunters? That's really what I want to know. Was Sam and Dean there?
no, that would have been
No, they passed away a long time ago.
interesting.
Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin.
Rat pack.
Wow.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I know the ST, the storyteller that runs that game, and I saw him like a couple weeks before Gen Con, and he asked if I wanted to play an NPC at that game, a non-player character, and I was like, sure, yeah. I was like, I have one thing that evening, which was the Mikey Mason concert, but I could come after because they were playing till like 1, and he's like, all right, well, we'll whip something up for you. And so I was actually playing a Black Spiral Dancer, which are the
Ooh.
fallen werewolves. And so I had a lot of fun, like, putting together a costume that was, like, very different from anything I'd worn before. Like, it was black and green, and, like, I had this green shift type thing that I just, like, cut up a bunch, and it was all, and over, like, my black clothes that I was wearing, and I actually was wearing a little bit of makeup, like some dark eyeliner and, like, dark lipstick. So it was a very different look for me, but honestly, it was so much fun, like, playing a different kind of character, and just, like, because it's funny because the Sabbat vampires also have packs. So I walk in, I'm like, oh yeah, I just lost my pack. And they're like, oh, that's so sad, we can help you out. And then they're like, some of them were like, oh, come, we run this show, you can join our show. I was like, I don't know, they'll come see our show. And then like someone else that has found out I am a werewolf mentions that. And then the other vampires are like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. But it was just really funny, like, it was a lot of fun to just play this different kind of character. And I think I'm going to play this NPC again later, because literally I walked into the room and this werewolf, she gained a bloodbane as her totem, which, for anyone that knows anything about this, as a shifter, she can buy up to 2 points in the 7 basic vampire disciplines, which is a huge thing for a shifter to be able to like have the vampire powers and not be an abomination, not be a shifter that has been turned into a vampire. Anyways, and is like in working relationships with some of the vampires, like the local ones. Anyways, it was so much fun, just like getting to see people's reactions as they realize what I was, and they're just because I was Avital. I am a bouncy and hyper person normally. I turned it up a notch and was like twirling around in circles and dancing a lot,
spirals.
Dance and spiral. And just being very hyper and giggling a lot. But literally one of my friends, he was like, I hear you from the other side of the room. And he's like, that does not sound like Avital's normal laugh. He's like, that's like an evil giggle, and it is creepy. And it was a lot of fun. So that was like a new thing for me. And that was like my most fun gaming experience. But an interesting thing that I had heard of before, not a game exactly, but had never experienced at all, is called Sirenscape. Which is
the sound producing?
The sound thing, yeah. Their website literally says it's a dynamic, easy-to-use application designed to create continuous, repetition-free sound environments. And the app...
I'm a super siren.
Yeah,
so.
the app is so cool. Like...
Dun, da, da, da.
I tempt sailors
just
from oceans away.
Like, there are different sound,
collections,
Witchwood and Storm or whatever, and they have different things in them, and you can turn this one up or down or turn this one off, and it's really, really cool. But also what they were doing was they had a thing that was in the coupon book that if you go to their booth and you can help record lines for Shoggoth, I think that was what it's called, this creature, and so they're having everyone record the same lines, and then they're going to play them all at the same time for this creature to speak.
Oh, the million voice creature?
Yeah.
Nice.
Shoggoth is one of the elder gods.
Yeah, so there was like the lines that you read, like they had them playing and you would say them in the same tone,
meter.
like they had a little recording booth, that zipped up and everything. And then like at the end there was just some space for you to just say whatever, because that would just be like a cacophony of noises that they put together later. And so that was kind of cool. And but I think Sirenscape is really, really cool. Like, even without paying for it, like, you can still get some decent use out of it. And they had some, like, free codes if you were there, for you could download more ones free and stuff. So
they have a good selection that are free, and they have some that you can buy by the package, like $5 to $15 a package, or and this is going to sound super strange, or it's $20 every 2 months, not $10 a month, $20 every 2 months. That's how they bill you. But when you do that and become a super siren, you get access to every package, new and old.
Which
it's pretty awesome.
It's very cool. They're actually from Australia.
Yes, Benjamin Looms.
Which is great talking to them, because I'm just like, please keep talking in your cool accents. I like
you
this.
get to say you're a super siren.
That's right.
Does your hair grow yellow and, start doing...
This is not the siren you'd want to find on the sea, trust me.
God, he was Dragon Balling it. Super Saiyan.
Oh my gosh. Super siren.
Just Super Saiyan.
Power levels over 9,000. I'm a super siren of just Super Saiyan.
My name's...
Critical Role uses Sirenscape.
Yep, and they have specific sets, like for Pathfinder. There was one that's for like one of the named wizards, and like they have lines from him, and like
they're also bringing
really
Starfinder to their sci-fi package.
cool. Nice.
So.
But yeah,
Beep, bop, boop.
Thanks, R2.
I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself as a different character. You went exactly the reverse of the way that I went when I did my first vampire LARP. I went from being a vampire to finding out that I was an abomination. So I was attacked on all sides, and you were embraced, not literally. But I'm glad you had a good time. I love hearing those stories of, I tried something completely different than what I'm used to, and I loved it. I dig that so hard. I'm trying to do that in the next game, Pathfinder, that I play with our group, to the chagrin of some. My favorite gaming moments. I played a lot of Pathfinder Society this GenCon. I think I was in the ballroom 12 hours out of the day, maybe more.
Yeah, you needed a cot.
Yeah.
In there.
There was one point I was sitting so long, I actually developed a medical issue. But the game with my daughter, always a blast. Simply because I love hearing her imagination run wild, and we created a character for her. She has an actual Pathfinder Society number. It was just letting her do the yes and the GM that we had was not supposed to be our GM. we found someone that was sitting alone and said, "Would you mind running a table for our daughter?" And they said yes, and we were the only ones at the table. So the rules that are the Pathfinder Society were bent a little, some at more than a 90-degree angle, so that the fun could happen. And I really appreciated that. So I want to give a shout out to Trudy Gallahan. She was that person, the GM, that was supposed to be running an advanced Pathfinder Academy. Instead, did the beginner for us. And we just had a blast. And that was reflected in the smile and the giggles that came from my little one as she played. So that's my favorite moment. Other good moments were getting the Batman crew back together again, playing in Derek's Batman game. Josh getting to be Lego Batman, saying, "I'm not going to do the same thing that Lego Batman did last time," and then doing the exact same thing that Lego Batman did last time.
Only in a couple instances.
But it was true again that you, as Lego Batman, were the forward for much of the game. I know all the secrets, so let's just move past this. Let's get it over with. I dug that. And then playing the Great Train Robbery game that followed the other one that Derek ran, the Lost Religion.
Oh,
game.
yeah.
The Great Train Robbery that was run by Adam. That was really, really fun because, again, it opened up these are the rules, but we're going to throw them out in lieu of fun. And we just kept playing and playing until everyone was done playing. So I like that. That was a lot. The newest game I played, are we going to do that later?
No, go for it.
Game of Thrones Catan.
I didn't get to play that. Was
I
it
saw
good?
it.
I heard
I
that
didn't
people
get to
were
play it.
excited about that.
It's exactly the same, except now there's a wall. And at certain points in the game, walkers either climb the wall, break through the wall, and there's a strategy to where you place your stuff initially as to what will happen with those walkers as they come through.
White Walkers.
Spoilers, don't put your stuff next to the wall.
Seems to
Noted.
make sense.
So noted.
But in that, had a good time playing Society. A lot.
Very cool.
So I was in a lot of the Pathfinder Society games with Lance as well, and my wife, and we of course did the specials with our group that normally runs with Don, Lance, Vanessa, Deb, and I. And then Friday night, Derek's husband Dan joined us, and seemed to have a pretty good time with that. The crew, it's pretty neat because our society group, when we do get together and play, is around 7 to 8 people anyways. So even though Adam and Dan switched Friday and Saturday night, we had the same dynamic, and we were able to work together with what was going on there. The funny thing about Friday night, Friday night was Saint, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Friday
Santarius.
yes. Santarius, whatever. From Italy was our game master. Big props to him because he just kind of rolled with it.
He was so funny.
He rolled with it the entire time, so much so that we were taking a little bit longer than a lot of tables, and they were pushing through the different goals so much faster. He's like, I don't care, we're finishing this. They finished it. They opened it. I don't care. We're finishing this. You just get to choose another one. We'll just say you completed it. I'm like, all right.
We would be in the middle of doing a specific objective, and then we'd be 3/4 of the way through it, and then they'd make the announcement, and we've defeated this objective, and we're like, wow,
we're not done with it, so let's just keep going.
And then,
We're not done with
and then
it,
he was
darn
like,
it.
well, we'll just finish this so that you guys get a chance to experience it, and then we'll choose something else on the list. And I'm like,
He was pretty awesome in that. And then for Sunday, we played Starfinder Sunday morning, and I think Starfinder turned out to be a lot better than any of us expected, particularly with the space combat.
oh my gosh, yes.
So sold on the space combat.
again,
Yeah.
like right now.
So they use a hex.
I would be down to just play that.
Right.
Like, that was a really cool mechanic.
They use a hex system so that it's a little more easy to understand maneuverability because they do facing when it comes to the starship combat, and we were in a ship that had normal maneuverability, so every time we move at hex we could turn one of the 6 directions, but we were facing 4 goblins who had perfect maneuverability, which basically meant they could spin around like
and they're looking in one space.
Yeah. But it was fun to see kind of that dynamic come together. But I think the most memorable part of that, we showed up. Don was running late. Don, I think, walked in the room at 9:03.
Oh my gosh.
And we're standing there, and I'm like, we have a team of 3. Well, you can either go with the 2 of you, and we're going to fill it out with 4, or you guys will sit out. And I argue with our game master long enough. Or the guy that was
it wasn't the game
mustering
master. It was the musterer. It wasn't the game master.
long
It was the
enough
musterer.
to delay enough for Don to he's right here. There's our 3.
Totally
and
was like an unlimited soliloquy.
I got no
I'm just going to
problem
talk
doing
about
that.
this and blah 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 blah. Eventually, Don.
3 of us show the tickets. They give us 3 more, and we sit down. No game master for 5 minutes.
A good 5 to 10 minutes. We're just sitting there, no GM whatsoever.
Finally, we get a hold of somebody at HQ, and they send us a guy over, and this guy's like, "Well, I'm going to be up front with you. I've not run this yet."
Was his name Tim?
That sounds right. He read the rules.
I think that's what his name was.
He's
Tim.
read the scenario. He'd yet to run it.
But he never
So
ran the
we're just going to go with it. I'm like, okay. Halfway through the
You're
campaign.
sitting at the right table.
Right. Halfway through the scenario, he realizes, all right, this is a CR4. And we're all like, what?
Yeah. 'cause
We're all
CR1.
Yeah, we're all first level characters because you guys are supposed to have the 4th level characters. We don't.
We
Yeah.
don't. They gave us
Okay,
first.
let's see what happens.
You kill it. Yay.
Yeah, well,
It kind of was. He took out.
I mean, we survived.
Yeah, he
by
took AC
the
off of
skin
it,
on
but-
our teeth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
He was wondering why we weren't just mowing down a bunch of
Yeah.
space goblins.
And
He's
why
like,
we
what do
were
you
even
mean?
getting knocked out a lot.
I'm playing a character that has psychic powers. He's like, what do you mean you only have 3 mind thrusts and you've used them all? And I'm like, well, I'm only a first level
again slower.
character. Like, oh,
Because the psychic guy gets another awesome power at like 3rd or 4th level that he could
Right.
have used. Yeah, it didn't have it.
okay.
And we're like,
it was still
Okay.
fun. We had a great time.
And with Lego Batman, I was playing emo Lego Batman because
seriously.
I'm going to sit down and watch TV.
Right, yeah,
nobody was
just do what
asking.
you want.
They weren't asking me to do anything, so I spent about for 30 minutes, 45 minutes as Lego Batman, sitting on
Pouting.
the couch watching
he was
television.
pouting, people. That's what he was doing.
I was. Nobody was asking me to do anything.
He ate popcorn and he sat on the TV and he watched soap operas. That's what he did, okay?
Anybody who's seen Lego Batman?
I'm Batman.
That's exactly what he would do. He gets home and spends it by himself watching TV, eating popcorn.
It felt good to geek out during that game with someone else that knew Batman as
she
well
has-
as I did.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but she loved how much you knew. It was great. I really, a lot of good games.
Debbie.
Well, I'm going to claim my new game, and I know some people say you're cheaty face, but I'm not going to say that I'm cheating because I had never actually played a complete NSDM game until this year. Okay, I had started a game, but I had never finished one. So I actually played through 2 complete NSDM games.
Which stands for
Oh boy, National Strategic Defense NSGM. Hold on, National Strategic Defense Game, I think is what it is.
I thought it was NSDM.
It is.
National Strategic Defense.
National Security Decision Making Game.
Yeah. I went into
It's Model
defense because you're all in defense, basically. But yeah, it's
With
Model
missiles.
UN. Yeah.
Model UN with missiles.
No, that's the Doomsday game, which I didn't play in. Anyway, a lot of fun once I figured out the dynamic. It has a pretty steep learning curve because you really, and for someone who's not extroverted, this game is a dream for any extrovert. I just have to tell you. And if you're an extrovert political or government person, oh my Lanta. The game we played on Thursday night, I really thought, one of the ladies who was in our group, I really thought that she was just going to start doing cartwheels. She was having so much fun. She wanted to go into politics when she was younger. She decided that wasn't what happened, but she loves government and politics and intrigue and all this. She was having so much fun. She was like, how many other games do they have? Well, how many games are these are open? Because I just want to play this all weekend long. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But it was a lot of fun, and as I got it figured out what can I do, how do I do this, and when you don't know, who do you ask, because there's a lot of that, I had a really good time. I also, at the end of... I played Wednesday night, so before Gen Con even started, I played my first game. And that night, I think we sat around talking with the people who run it for like 20 minutes after the game was over and just asking them, what their experiences are, what do they like to see as people running the game, I don't know. When you talk to people who actually run it and have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games, they have a really cool perspective. So got to talk to them and just had a really, really good time. So for my new game, so that's my pretend new game. Actual new game is going to be Starfinder because I'd never played it before. And as I said, I loved the space element to it. I also love the way that the ship dynamic. So like there's the captain and there's the science officer and then there's the pilot and they all have specific things that they can do. I love that. Like, this is my job, but if I can help somebody with their job as the captain, you can. And it was a neat dynamic. I liked that kind of a flashback to being in a Star Trek kind of thing. And okay, the pilot's doing this while Tactical's doing this, and Commander Riker's doing this. A little bit of that flavor. So I really like that. So kudos to the folks at Paizo who came up with that.
Is it like The Captain is Dead meets D&D?
Sort of. Every person. So when you are in a ship-to-ship battle.
So now space combat.
You have someone in the party that you choose to be the captain. They can make diplomacy rolls at the top of the order in order to add a static +1 that someone else can use to beef up their numbers. Then you have someone who's an engineer roll the initiative based on their engineering roll. And then you have people who use their ranged attack or piloting skill to fire the weapons. And so everybody has a piece to the puzzle. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have one person specialized on one specific thing and that's all they do. You can, obviously you can mix things up, but it's all of the pieces and moving parts of the ship to ship battle depend on the crew that you have and how well their skills are, and then where everything gets navigated.
And when you're on the ground, you don't have those rules per se, because when you're in ship to ship, you can change out every round what role you're in.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of sharing the role, because if somebody has the realization I'm not as good at diplomacy, or someone read their sheet wrong and went, oh, I actually have like a +12 in diplomacy.
Right.
Then you should probably be the captain.
You should be the captain. I'll shoot the gun.
So from that point, it's very much Pathfinder everywhere else, except for a few like rule differences. Like, you have an energy armor class and a kinetic armor class, which, depending on what weapon you get hit with, determines which AC you go against. And instead of just hit points, there's stamina that goes down first and then hit points. Stamina is really easy to get back. At the end of an encounter, you can get your stamina back, whereas hit points take time, or you need a specific class to get it back, or first aid kits to get it back. So, I think the only negative I had about it, probably the entire time we played it, was that in Pathfinder, in order to die, you have to lose your hit points equal to your full con score. In Starfinder, there's this thing called a resolve point, and you start losing resolve points once you hit 0 stamina, 0 hit points, and once your resolve is gone, you're dead. Well, we were first level characters and had 2 resolve. I have a con score of like 14.
Yeah, but that mechanic, in and of itself, that mechanic would not have negative. It would not have been a negative had we been playing the proper CR for our characters.
Probably, but it's just
because we were getting hit harder than we were hitting.
Sure,
was the problem.
Sure,
but
that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, yes. I mean, we were
squeak out of a thing with a story to tell.
I mean, that's true, and the game was great.
Yeah,
the game was great, and there were no. I personally have no complaints.
None.
About anything that we experienced with Starfinder. There were a couple, foo-bars, but not anything super crazy. And we were able to circumvent any serious situations, and it was fun. It was a good game, and we had 3 people at the table that had not only played the demos, but were at least familiar with a lot of the rules, which was, in my opinion, though it might seem annoying if I was sitting at a table playing a game that I had known how to play for quite some time, and then having people who were kind of, rules lawyery, if you will. But these people, because they knew the rules, were great. Because it's like we'd have a question and the GM would not necessarily be 100% sure, and they'd be able to show us in the book, oh, this is how you resolve this issue. Oh, this is how you do. And I was like, cool. Like, that's awesome. That's what I want on my first game.
Yeah, well, and everyone knows the first time you're going to play through a new rule system, everyone's going to be learning, even the game master.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now I really want our Starfinder. We actually don't have our Starfinder core rulebook yet because
yes, we do. It's right there.
Is it? Oh, cool! I didn't realize.
Yeah,
For those of you
I haven't
at
bought
home,
it yet, so
he
it's still
pointed
Okay.
to a book on a shelf.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, he did point to a book on a shelf. Well, that one technically is going to go to Dawn, and then we get our nicer one eventually.
Yeah, but-
So anyway, I need to read through the rulebook more in depth. Obviously.
And you guys are subscribed, so you should also have PDFs.
I do have the PDF.
He does. I actually have to, figure out where it's at in his computer. But yes, he does have the PDF.
And if you have not seen the Starfinder core rulebook, it's the prettiest book I've ever seen.
It's
the
very
artwork
pretty.
in the book
And
is
most people
amazing.
didn't, because it sold out in 6.5 hours.
I was going to say that the Tal'Dori cover.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh! Are you done, Deb? Because I thank you.
Yes.
I have great things.
So those, NSDM, Starfinder, the Pathfinder specials were great fun. They always are. So I feel a little silly saying it one more time. I really had a great time with that as well. And then we did a little bit of time in the exhibit hall. We weren't going to get much time, which is why we gave up True Dungeon. And we were at Calliope Games and played through several games. I didn't have a lot of experience with them, but we played one called Central City. Is that what it was? Capital City. It was Capital City. It hasn't come out yet, but we played it and we enjoyed it so much that we pre-ordered it from them. And so we have a couple of games from them. We have Dicey Peaks. We were going to get Capital City, and there's another one.
Sorrow of the Seas.
That's it, Sorrow of the Seas.
Which I was really surprised that you guys had not played before, because I've played that game several times.
Not
played
Sorrow of
Sorrow,
the Seas.
but
We
not-
played
I know.
Sorrow, but not
I've
the
played Sorrow of the Seas too, because
Yeah.
Sorrow of the Seas is a little different because you are a
You're the boat trying to
fisherman
get away from
trying to
average
stay
student.
away from
trying
the
to live
dragons.
from the dragons.
Instead of being the dragon, trying
Right.
to avoid each other.
Right.
Exactly. So
Right.
anyway, so I had a really good time. Calliope was a lot of fun. And I'm still very confused that Mayfair doesn't have Catan anymore. My brain broke on that about 4 times.
Asmodee bought Catan.
I know, and
They
I
did not buy Mayfair. They
and my
bought
husband
Catan.
kept reminding me of that as I'd walk by, and I was like, "It's just strange that Mayfair doesn't have all the Catan stuff."
But had they not
brain was
bought Catan,
Mm-hmm.
there would not be a Catan Game of Thrones.
No, that's true because they did work on it. So fair enough. I'm not upset and I'm not bitter. It was just Mayfair doesn't have that.
I know
Okay.
it seemed awkward.
Yes.
However, if you did go over to the Mayfair games, they had a lot of really fun stuff.
Yeah.
I actually got to play Agricola, the family edition, and that was a ton of fun.
Yep.
And then there was another game that I played that I cannot remember the name
Did
of.
you just say Agricola?
Yeah.
Okay.
We bought
What?
Let's see. The game we
Agricola.
bought. We haven't played it yet. Actually, we played
Greek.
the Calliope games, but we
Okay,
haven't played. We bought
I'm
one
not
at
Greek.
Mayfair, but-
As a matter of fact, the country that would have been my native country based on my family line is not anywhere near Greece. So I say Agricola.
Agricola. All right.
Just like I say
Deleganos.
Just like I say Gyro.
I am wrapping up. That was my
You say
my
gyro?
wandering through Gen Con games for
I'd
you
like a gyro,
of what
please.
I experienced. So I'm now done. I'm going to hand off the reins. Go.
Okay.
John.
Well, I would have to agree that Pathfinder was great. Starfinder was phenomenal. I had a ton of fun playing a couple of different versions of Catan at the Catan booth. I played Explorers and Pirates, I think is what it was called, something like that.
Yeah, I know they have both of those.
And then I also got to play Traders and Knights for the first time, which was really good. Like I know that it's been out for a million years, but in general, I had never played that game at GenCon or anywhere else, and I got to sit down and play it and really enjoyed it. Did not get a chance to play Game of Thrones Catan, but I did also get to play the America version of Catan America.
Catan America, I think it was.
And it's really good too. It adds an element instead of having the same kind of iconic cities and settlements and roads and stuff. They actually have settlers that have a wagon that move down to different areas, and that's where you sit. And then they also have a train mechanic where you build train tracks and then connect little areas. It's fun.
Next year I may be more at the Catan booth and play, because really, I mean, I play classic Catan, I've played the Catan dice game and Catan cards, but all the other Catans that they have, I think I need to spend some time and experience all those.
And like I said, the Mayfair booth was a lot of fun to play games at, because they had a lot of neat stuff that I had not gotten a chance to play, because most of the time when I would go and they still had Catan, those were the games that we would play, was Catan, because the mechanics carry over from one version to the next.
And your wife loves Catan.
Right.
So.
And so those were all good. I mean, she spent a bill on new Catan games. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it has Benjamin Franklin on the front. But she got the cool thing is they still do the the Declaration of Independence.
Bill of Rights?
It costs $100.
Yeah.
So they still do the discount thing. It's 25% off your selection of games if you get the resource cards to get the coupon and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun.
So their booth does similar to what the Mayfair does, because at Mayfair you earn the ribbons.
Yeah, they have the ribbons and stuff.
So it's a similar
the ribbons
idea.
are all now based on Agricola.
Oh yes. The Mayfair ribbons threw me off because they're the same colors, but they were different things, and I was like, I'm lost.
Well,
and
the sheep, what I think is great, they still have sheep, and the sheep ribbons are now white.
Oh my gosh.
And I have, so just a secret confession very quickly. I have always wanted to get enough sheep ribbons to make a kilt out of.
We saw a lady. Did you see the lady that was at Killer Breakfast?
Yeah.
She made a cape out of
I saw her walking
ribbons,
around the
Mayfair
hall.
ribbons.
I saw her
it was
walking around the hall.
impressive. I was like, I love your cape. And she was like, thank you. She earned the ribbons, and her sister apparently did the sewing for it. And I was like, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of Gen Cons.
That's a lot of Gen. That's a lot of time at the Mayfair booth.
You don't. Yes, but you probably wouldn't have to go to a ton of Gen Cons, because you could just constantly, like, if that's all you did for 4 days and you had a teammate and all you did was, I'll take sheep, I'll take sheep,
just
I'll take sheep,
it up,
I'll take sheep, or whatever.
And just keep sitting there and just keep just
then
the ribbons.
you'd have a boatload of ribbons by the end of one weekend. But to make a cape, you'd have that's a ton.
Well, now other booths and other groups are getting into the ribbon thing too.
That's true.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to necessarily do just Mayfair.
That's
you
true.
Go
depending
to
on
the,
what you the
gamer booths,
what ribbons you used. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to see somebody make a patchwork cape or something like that out of a bunch of different ribbons.
It'd be neat to see someone that has one of every ribbon.
Oh my gosh!
They've gone through and they've done all the different events.
Yes. Okay, so the games that I played, I would have to say the Pathfinder exclusives were a lot of fun. The one with Saint was incredible. I would have to say, though, my favorite new game was definitely Starfinder. Hands down, I told Deb while we were standing in the line to get boons for Pathfinder, I said, I don't know if I'm way too overhyped for playing Starfinder, because I already have these expectations in my head of what I want this game to be. And I hope that I'm not overselling it in my head. And then we played it, and I went, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. There's probably a lot of people out there that played it and are disappointed. That's fine. There are 1.5 million sci-fi genre role-playing games that you might enjoy. I loved Starfinder, and I have already been trying to figure out when we can start doing a regular Starfinder game. Not just with the people sitting at this table, but I'm trying to get my cousins into doing some role play gaming and things like that, and trying to figure out when we might be able to set something up like that. So I'm extremely excited about the potential of Starfinder and Starfinder Society and some of the things like that that are coming out. Our friends Bryce and Danny bought Starfinder.
Okay.
They really want to get into some Starfinder games as well. So there's a lot of really cool potential with what this is. And the ship mechanic is solid, in my opinion. It's not overcomplicated.
Right.
So if you are a BattleTech or, if you are a war gamer, you're probably going to look at this and go, that's not really, it's kind of simplified to what I really want. And that's understandable. For a bunch of us role players that are only just now getting into that genre of gameplay, it's simplified and it's straightforward and it should be easy to go ahead and play. So, with all of that being said, we had a really great time at GenCon, so much so that we have so much more to talk to you about. So we're going to go ahead and move into our part 2 of our post-GenCon episode.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus!